300, what's the deal? It's your folks, Shaka. I wanted to share my thoughts with y'all real quick. Y'all, I've been meaning to get around to this for about a month or two, but I came up on this All the Smoke podcast show, and they had Draymond Green featured on. And Draymond spoke on pretty much, man, I would say one of the top two issues with the so called black community, especially with so called black men, as to the reason why there is no progress, what I'm saying, in our community. And this is a situation where art, what I'm saying, imitates life, but he's speaking on like LeBron. This is who he's speaking on. And he's pretty much speaking on how LeBron pretty much changed the game of basketball. And he goes on to kind of speak on how a lot of players really could have learned more, what I'm saying, from LeBron if they just weren't being uh these old tap dancing type of dudes, what I'm saying, out here. Uh he labels it kind of like a so-called slave mentality. But I'm going to play this clip here and we're going to listen to some of the things that he's going to say. I'm going to stop here and there because a lot of what he's saying is the truth. Okay. A lot of what he's saying is the primary reason why so-called black men, why we don't have things established among our group like we should. We don't have the think tanks established like we should. We don't have the networks established like we should. We don't have the companies established like we should. You know what I'm saying? We should be in control of certain type of businesses in this country, and we don't have that established like we should. But I'm gonna go ahead and hit play, and he's gonna speak on some of these reasons as to why. Now he's gonna speak by way of basketball, but you can read between the lines on what he's saying, especially when he says the slave mentality. But let's go.
In sports, as sick as we are to turn that off and on, we're also a little fucked up from the standpoint like, oh, this guy is doing that, but why would I go do that? I'm gonna go do
Right.
this.
Right.
And like I've said it before publicly, the CEO of Apple ain't looking at the CEO of Google like, oh well, I'm not gonna do that because he's doing it. They may
Right.
try to add their own, something to their service to make their service better, but they're not trying to go a completely different path. And in sports, we're almost conditioned. And like I spoke on the slave mentality before in sports. We almost got a slave mentality of like, oh, LeBron's doing this, well, I can't do that. Why the fuck not? Like,
Right.
it's proven to be fucking great, and it's proven to be the absolute golden standard of all gold. Why not take that fucking playbook and call him and say, yo?
I wanted to stop right there because that he said a whole lot right there. And that is one of the so-called black community's top two problems, especially among so-called black men. We think it's weak, you know what I'm saying, to give props, you know what I'm saying, and give credit to a brother who brings something to the game, brings something to the table, or a brother doing something major. You know what I'm saying? A lot of so-called black men think it's weak. If you're not in that man's circle, or we don't know each other, or if you're not a celebrity where I see you on TV, it's very hard to get a so-called black man to really just give props to another brother and and pull up to possibly network with him and things like that versus just saying, oh well, I'm gonna pass on that because that's gonna come off as weak. And y'all know that I spoke on this on some men who had pulled up to the channel. And me, myself, you know what I'm saying? I personally think that I'm definitely in a position to say this because I've been very critical of people on this channel. But between my first channel and this channel, I've gave plenty of props to various people that I have been very critical of. You know what I'm saying? So in my opinion, if motherfuckers call me a so-called hater or whatever, uh, it definitely would not fit the bill. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I can give props. And the reason why is, I think I told y'all this before, it's not about right or wrong. It's what's going to work. You know what I'm saying? It's what you putting in the game that's going to work for other people and work for everybody, just like he said. So why would I dismiss that over some shit like, oh, because I don't like you, or because I don't like what you said, even though you don't know me personally. You know what I'm saying? I can address what you said and not give a damn about you personally and do more for the community. You know what I'm saying? And I can also agree with what you said, okay, and still not give a damn about you personally, and we can still do something for the community. And basically what the in my opinion what Draymond said there is that oftentimes, especially us as black men among each other, is the reason why we don't have things. We'll just throw all of that out of the window. You know what I'm saying? Because we want to stand in jealousy, okay, in that minimum hate, because I don't like, y'all know I don't like hate, because it's always an explanation behind it. But yeah, man, that's a serious problem, and as a result, the whole entire community suffers. Like I tell y'all, it starts with the so-called black men. When you see what's going on out here, that's a reflection of what's going on with us and what we're not taking care of. Okay, let's go.
What would you do in this situation, or why did you do this like this? Or, like I talked to Brian earlier this year, and I'm like, yo, I feel like I noticed that you kind of went from the villain to like just making everything about fun. Like, am I far off there? Like, and he like, I had to do that. I had to do that to refine the love for the game that I had as a kid, because that's what's drove me my whole life. And then, yeah, being like the villain was cool for a time, but I had to do that. You know what I'm saying? And like, obviously, I've been the villain for a long time, like all my career pretty much. And so just trying to find different ways to pivot. One guy I called is one guy that I've watched, LeBron, do it to a fucking T. Why not call him an accident? But we're so fucked up as athletes at times where it's like, I'm not gonna call him an accident because that's a sign of fucking weakness. Or
he's a blueprint, dog.
If you can't call an accident, then you are fucking weak and you trying to cover it up. You're not strong and like
That's not
fucking
strength.
staying strong. You're fucking weak and you're.
Okay, and I just wanted to stop right there, but pretty much, he pretty much stated it. And Draymond of all people, even though we know entertainment is acting or whatever, but this is art imitates life. When you look at Draymond, him and LeBron has had some serious fallouts. I mean, we know the classic 2016 situation where he was ejected, and people say that they pretty much lost that finals because of that. But still, after all of that, Draymond Green is man enough to still recognize LeBron for his accomplishments, who he is, and what he brings to the game. You know what I'm saying? And he can get props. He can do it the right way. He ain't being dusty about it. You know what I'm saying? Because he understands how important it is for their community over there and what it means. Okay? It's bigger than him. You know what I'm saying? And so the reason why I did this little clip here is because, listen, so-called black men, if anything's going to change, got to take this mentality. Because right now, so-called black men are more on the groupie idolatry thing than anything. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be out here propping up a lot of this information uh, and crap that don't mean anything. And a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, it's simply because you're in opposition of what's true. Okay? And oftentimes because the truth is coming from somebody that you may not like or whatever and stuff like that. And oftentimes the reason why we may not like these people could have a lot to do with just how we're trained. Okay, primarily most of the time. And so it ain't never really official, even at the root of the thing. So I'm gonna leave it there, y'all. Y'all go ahead and comment below. What do y'all think about this message that Draymond dropped here? Do y'all believe that this is a serious issue among so-called black men? And that's the reason why we don't have a lot? or the reason why we should have way more. You know what I'm saying? Because in my opinion, the so-called black men in the West, African American, he should have way more over other Africans out here uh, in this world, and based on him, okay, not based on the crumbs that is around him. Comment below, like this information, hit the sub button and the bell. We dropping shit y'all like. It's your folks Shaka, the Urban Philosopher. I'm out. It's 300.